Dave Sharma is the Liberal candidate who shouldn't be facing an uphill task this Saturday to win the seat of Wentworth. One of the safest seats in the country, it has never been held by the Labor Party.
Are you Dave Sharma?
Yeah. Oh, thanks.
Despite local anger about the toppling of Malcolm Turnbull, it was still regarded as fairly certain Sharma would hold the seat. But that did not stop a huge field of 16 candidates throwing their hats in the ring.
Voters know that this isn't your normal sort of a by-election. It's one that will have national repercussions and national consequences.
The national debate has been reset, and I think that we are now focusing much more on Australia's future and where this government has been leading us, and a lot of people are not liking where we're going.
Good, thanks. My name is Tim Murray. I'm the Labor candidate. They're sick of all the wrangling. They want a party to get in and to deliver us a climate policy that will help our country.
Climate change and asylum seekers dominated early. But in the past week, religious freedom, then a naked bid to win the seat's large Jewish vote, have set the contest alight. Last weekend, the first signs emerged that the Morrison Government either thought it was in big trouble or was prepared to do anything to ensure it held on to a seat which could cost its majority in Parliament.
How's your day going?
Good.
Yeah?
It started when the Prime Minister announced new legislation to stop discrimination against children at religious schools in an attempt to cauterise the damage of leaks over a still suppressed report on religious freedom.
It caused unnecessary concern and stress for children and for families, and I want to see that fixed.
Finally, the coup de grace, a dramatic shift in foreign policy designed to shore up the electorate's large Jewish vote, an idea promoted by the Liberal candidate, a former ambassador to Israel.
We are open to the arguments that have been made by our former ambassador to Israel about how we could progress that issue in the context of a two-state solution.
You've said your position in moving the embassy is that it can be part of the two-state solution, but it doesn't seem to have been interpreted that way in the last couple of days.
Well, what I've said about this is that I support a two-state solution and that we should be open to considering the idea of whether moving the embassy or recognising Jerusalem as the capital of Israel, without prejudice to the emergence of a Palestinian state, would serve the interests of a two-state solution.
But the frenzied attempts to protect Wentworth morphed into a broader story of a government becoming dysfunctional when the coalition accidentally voted to support a white supremacy slogan moved by Pauline Hanson in the Senate.
There has been a rise in anti-white racism and a rise in attacks on the very ideals of Western civilisation.
A couple of weeks ago, you were fairly confident that Dave Sharma would hold the seat for the Liberals. Are you still that confident?
Well, I was going on history. It's got a 17.7% margin. They're not seats that you lose at by-elections. But the events of last week have made me feel much more concerned for the Liberal Party in this contest because they've had a terrible week with raising issues which have just distracted from the whole campaign and made life harder for Dave Sharma.
Two notable campaign absentees have been Malcolm Turnbull and Bill Shorten.
There is one Liberal candidate running for Wentworth.
The Liberals have poured money and their big guns into the electorate. They have won more than 50% of first preferences in the seat of Wentworth in every election since 2004.
Whatever the overall outcome, the Liberals' Dave Sharma will lead on first preferences. And if he's well short of 50%, then the result will come down to the distribution of preferences from the other 13 candidates to a point where there's only 3 left, which will be Sharma, Kerryn Phelps and Labor's Tim Murray. Now, depending on who finishes third determines who will win. If Labor finishes third, 80 to 85% of Labor preferences will flow to Kerryn Phelps. So the real danger for the Liberals is if Kerryn Phelps finishes second.
You obviously came under a lot of criticism for coming out and talking about Liberal preferences instead of Labor preferences.
And people should also recognise that I have put the Liberal Party at number 10 on my How to Vote card.
Good to see you too.
Hi.
Good morning.
Thank you for being here again.
Independent candidate Kerryn Phelps may have been criticised for putting the Liberals ahead of Labor on her How to Vote card, but that has not stopped the Liberals running an aggressive negative campaign against her. And, in a new low, an unknown player circulated emails this week asserting Phelps was HIV positive and urging a vote for Sharma.
The contents of it were quite outrageous, but for somebody to try to circulate an email widely to say that I was pulling out of the race because I'd been diagnosed with this disease is, quite outrageous.
It seemed to have little impact on voters at pre-polling today.
It's pretty low tactics to, one, further stigmatise people with HIV, but also, just really, really bizarre. It solidified the way I was voting, certainly.
The government has been arguing that a vote for Tim Murray or Kerryn Phelps would be a vote for uncertainty and instability. So what does the Labor candidate think of that?
They're in absolute chaos. This is their election to lose. They're throwing the kitchen sink at it. They're making up everything as they go along, and they're accusing us of causing instability. It is them. They have lost legitimacy to govern this country, and they should take us to a general election now.
And people are just shaking their heads and saying, why have we got this chaos in the Australian government, making foreign policy on the run, supporting white supremacist slogans in the Senate, and then saying, oh, oops, we didn't mean to do it. I mean, it's just chaotic.
Your argument is about stability and certainty, and we've just seen chaos and confusion in Canberra in the last couple of days. It's not a great ad for your campaign, is it?
Oh, look, I don't agree. I mean, whenever Parliament's sitting, there's always a lot of noise coming out of Canberra, and that's just part of the campaign. This is a unique by-election. I mean, there is a big national spotlight on it, understandably, because a lot depends upon it. But I think that's just part and parcel for the course here.
The Wentworth by-election started as a series of protest votes. The Liberals' problem now is voters are likely to vote on the very issue it has campaigned on, stability. The spectre of a government in meltdown has, according to both polling and feedback on the ground, produced a stunning but hardly surprising shift in sentiment. The sobering thing is that the warring coalition factions actually went silent during this chaotic campaign. That only raises the question of what happens after Saturday, particularly if the Liberal Party loses the seat for the first time since 1944.